Hi. Right, it's not quite spring, but we've managed to finally clear all the detritus out the garage. Parking two winter cars here tends to leave a lot of salt and stuff on the floor, but so we've had a bit of a clean up and tidy up because this week I've got my electrician coming and we shall be full scale for a good, well, almost 2 weeks, trying to wire the car up. So I've given him as much heads up as I can think I do, but realistically it's going to be a long job. So I say we've mounted various parts, bits and pieces that I can, you know, ECU for the steering, expansion boxes, God knows whatever else. That's all kind of in. There's still a lot to mount. Forgot about the TPMS system. We've got to mount the receiver for that. We've got to decide the final place for the PDM, albeit we know we're going to get access to it, and you know roughly the position that the oxygen sensors are going to be. I've got to design and do the mounts for these are the linear potentiometers for the suspension measuring, and the list goes on. I have to mount the electronic duct for either recycled air from the outside, or you basically close it off and just run internal air. Oh yeah, a lot of plug and pin kits that I kind of got over the time. If you haven't seen my other videos, my little short ones, reels, we now have the flywheel and clutch. Clutch is lovely, I must admit. I do like the fact that as much as it's a twin plate metallic clutch, we do have a kind of road car sprung center. So basically, even though we've got two plates, yeah, it's hard to see the other one, isn't it? Yeah, let's pull that off. There we go. As much as we've got the two plates, we do still have a road car friendly sprung center, so it's not going to be quite as harsh. It's going to be better, so okay, I'm dead happy about that. Flywheel's in the car at the moment, but we are going to have to pull this apart. There's one final thing to do. Yes, I know it looks like it's finished, but we really want at this particular point, I just wanted to put the back end of the car together and on, just to make sure that we could get all the layouts of all the cable routing. Haven't bothered with the suspension wishbones. I've just put the dummy bushes back in, albeit we have now prepped the rubber, all the rubber bushes obviously for the front. That was fun pushing the new bushes in. We were trying not to bugger up the face where the powder coating was, but I've ended up making some rubber sacrificial washers, and it doesn't mark the face quite so bad, so it's pretty good. Unfortunately, every time you use a washer, you throw it in the bin. So, but that's not a problem. I'll do that just to save the powder coat. But yeah, there's a few minor things we've had to do. I've had to modify the gearbox. This being a 996, didn't originally have the GT2 style slave cylinder. It had a hydraulic boosted assisted clutch slave. Now that'd be no good. The LS motor is quite renowned for not having as good a thrust bearings on the crank. They don't like over too much tension. So actually this clutch we've just going to fit actually has a lesser pedal pressure than a standard Porsche turbo, so which is even nicer. So it's lesser pedal pressure and it has 1200 foot-pounds of holding. But push come to shove, we had to modify the face of this front casting of the gearbox. Should have had that done when CMS had the box, but it wasn't something that I thought about because originally I was just going to use a slave cylinder around the input shaft. But now we've gone Porsche pull clutch, we need the GT2 cylinder. So I had to modify that. I borrowed my mate's gearbox, which is in here, which is pretty much very similar spec to mine, or it's exactly a 996 CMS rebuilt. Just to measure the holes, dimensions, we drilled it, we machined it. So now we have the slave on, but unfortunately where I mounted my oil pump for the gearbox, yeah, was in the way. So we had to move that. I've since filmed, I can take this apart and turn it around and spin the two holes that bolt up into this here, which was handy. It was a pain getting the brushes back in, but we've managed to do it. So now this hose now unfortunately is a little bit long. It needs to be shortened a tad, but we can do that. but now I've got the position of that back in. Still playing with the oil filter location for that, which obviously is filter the oil from the box before it goes into the gear pump. So that oil filter mounting, still got that to play with. And I've got to design some mounts for this huge behemoth of the return mesh oil filter before it goes to the dry sump tank. So we're going to mount that there. So it's out at the moment, so I'll start designing some CAD brackets that I can just bolt up via the engine mount bolt and then have a secondary clamp to hang that on. This fitting here basically comes directly from the oil air separator. We'll come to here, through the filter, back down and then straight into the oil tank. So, yes, we have the push rods now. Finally figured out how to measure a push rod correctly, which was an interesting story on its own. So now we have the push rods. I put the push rods in this side just earlier today and pulled down the rockers. I've got to do the same with the other sides. We do have to lighten the valve covers. I purposely, and there goes the air pump. Right, I do have to lighten the valve covers. They are about 8mm thick everywhere at the moment because I need to make sure I had enough clearance at the back here for the rockers. I wasn't sure with the extra lift and the new design of rockers they'd fit, so I left extra material. Now they do actually miss, strangely, which I thought I need more room, but I need to get these back on the mill with a stepper tool and basically machine a pocket from the inside of the cover here, just to give me a little bit more room. But so they need to go back on the mill. Also need to put a threaded outlet here for the engine breathing on one side, and the other side will be a vacuum regulator valve. Note to self, Clive, turn off the bloody compressor before starting video. Oh yeah, the pedals are all in, a few titanium bolts short, so they're on their way, but effectively, I want to take the camera. We now have our nice twin 5mm, there you go, twin 5mm bladed carbon fibre accelerator pedal. That's now all good. I just got to anodise that aluminium piece, but I'll do that when I'm sending the next batch. So pedal sets in, albeit minor adjustments. Still got to do all the brake lines. That's going to be fun. Dropped all the front suspension in, dropped all the radiator and stuff in. There's a minor mod to the bottom of the rad there. This pipe here, we've lowered the angle of the radiator from what I originally had, and basically this gets very close. Actually, we'll hit it on full droop, so I need to orientate this slightly down to marry up with the pipe. So one little tweak on there, still lots of little tweaks. I'm just roughly putting the pipes back in because we are going to have a returning water temperature temperature reading from here before it goes into the pump, so I'll know what basically the temperature is coming out of the radiator. We have ordered a lithium battery, or a LiPo 4 lithium battery from a company in Alberta. So that's 100 amp hour, has its own BMS system, and basically it's a direct replacement for virtually any truck in North America. So I won't need the battery heater system that's in it, albeit it's automatic anyway in the BMS, because I won't be driving this outside when it's -5. So really kind of that bit's a bit pointless for us, but it's nice to have. It's 100 amp hour, it's 1,000 cold cranking amps, and it's only 12 kilos. So anything that's in that spec, normal lead acid, we're looking probably closer to 25, 26 kilos. I think the yellow top I was looking at, Optima, was 52 pounds or something stupid. So yes, we've got a lighter battery than I thought. I was hoping to go for the 50 amp hour, but I spoke to the company and they said because the electrical load on this, just play safe and go for the 100. But they did me a super deal, so realistically I can't complain. It is physically a little bit bigger, but we can still get it in just maybe lose another inch of the passenger floor, but like I said, passengers are ballast. So yeah, here's all of our 50 odd colors of loom cable. There's actually an LS conversion loom there. We're going to rob a few of the plugs from that. But yes, we have to mount all of this Haven't done the mounting for my this unit yet, so I've got to mount that somewhere. Actually, that's the big one. That's the correct size. I bought the wrong size originally. But yeah, so we're getting on. Most of the stuff is on and off pretty good. The exhaust manifold on that side is being modified at unobtainium at the moment. There's one small pipe that I kind of prefer to be a little bit further away from where it was. Hard to tell, like, you know, God knows how many years ago when we first had them done, but now I've built the car up, it's just a bit too close for me. So Chris is modifying that very nicely for us, and then we'll we'll get the headers left and right. It's not ceramic coated, it's Ceramicoat. We'll get them coated anyway, and we're orientating the position of the wastegates so they lean down at sort of 45-degree angle, basically to get the wastegates at a larger distance away from this pipe. Otherwise they're kind of here. So now I'm going to move them further away. Yeah, lots of little bits, getting a lot done. Yeah, ticking off a lot of boxes, but it's getting to that point now when I'm going to have to start generating lists of stuff to do. So basically I don't forget any of the small stuff. Yeah, kind of excited at this point, because obviously wiring the car up is a big step. I went through the AC lines the other day just to make sure that I need one extra fitting this side, and I'll have to put a service fitting under the dash, so I can put a service fitting on the suction line. It's rather tight, obviously, as you can imagine. It's rather tight down there where the AC pump is, and you really want to be able to take it to a AC place to basically charge it up. So the last thing you want to do is go there and start disassembling the diffuser just so you can get to the service lines. But what we can do is, instead of running a service line pretty close to the compressor, the suction line, which is going to be this here, I could have either put a service point in here, but then I went against that just in case I ever got a leak. And I kind of realized it's not too hard to reach underneath the dash from the passenger side to connect a vacuum line to it. So I'm going to put a service fitting on the dash side there for the suction side, and then on the more high pressure side I'll put it over this side before we go from the into the condenser. That's right, into the condenser, into the post. Yes, high pressure, so into the condenser. not condenser to dryer, no, into the condenser. Excuse my ramblings. So we have a service point for that. I have all the fittings that I need, apart from one 180-degree fitting on it on that side. So that's on a list already of little bits to buy. Not much else coming at the moment, so we're getting pretty close. Getting very close. Yes, the eagle-eyed amongst you, that piece of wood there is just for safety. The four sets of, or the two sets of axle stands will actually hold the car without any supports at the back here. Does a bit look like a sort of aircraft stroke 911, what somebody spoke to me earlier. The balance point of the car with all the suspension and tyres on, so with the tyres on, the brakes, the uprights, the holes and the oil tank and stuff in, but without the fuel tank, I didn't have the fuel tank in at the time. The balance point for this is literally just a little bit south of the bulkhead. Now, that's without all the stuff at the front. That's without the battery. Now, with the battery, it pushes it forward a little bit. Once the fuel tank's got some weight in, it should push it forward again, plus the driver and passenger should push it forward again. But realistically, that's not far off the balance point of the car. And so these two jacks here are probably taking the majority of the weight. Now, without the wheels and the suspension, then obviously the front is still definitely heavier. So, or it's more weight that side of it. Does look a bit precarious, but I did think about it beforehand. Don't worry. Albeit I am paranoid, so yeah, I threw a 2x12 under there just to be sure. Anyway, I'll have it on. Next week, maybe we'll have a video once we start doing the electrical stuff. Yeah, that's where we're going so far. So we're still aiming for. I got to try and aim to get the dyno before sort of July. if I can get on dyno time and get that stuff done, and then basically get the car running, we can maybe hit some tracks later in the summer. Whether I finally get all the little bits and pieces to get it onto the road, I don't know. I'll get the registration done, because I can get the chassis registration done before the final road reg, so I can get myself a chassis number. But I don't know whether I'm going to get everything done and get it fully road registered this summer. But it is going to be drivable. Might not have headlamps and a few other things, but it will be drivable, and I will take it to shows in the trailer. Yeah, it's a large task, but I'm trying my best at this point. I'm taking time off work and the day job literally to try and get this thing pushed further forward. So anyway, thanks for listening. If you listened to the end, sorry for my ramblings, and update hopefully coming within the next week to 10 days.